Welcome to Saving the Association. I'm Tanner Simmons, your host, joined by my co-host Brett Vriesman.
Good day, sir.
And good day to you, sir. Today we've got a great show. We are joined by a Sonics legend, and we cover a lot of great topics, including the NBA Finals. This is a two-parter, so stay tuned for part two as that comes out. And Brett, let's get to the interview.
Let's do it. Hey, I want to welcome our guest for today, Jack Sikma. Jack is an amazing NBA player. He was the eighth pick in the 1977 draft. He was a seven-time All-Star. He's a Hall of Famer, a world champion, and just one great guy. So, Jack, so glad to have you on our show today.
Oh, thanks for the invite. Looking forward to it. We got a lot to discuss, so it'll be fun.
Great.
Yes, we do. And I also saw on your basketball reference page, you have a few nicknames. Do you want to try to guess what those are, or would you like me to list them off to you? You've got to know one or two.
Uh, yeah, a few of them I appreciate, a few I don't.
Okay.
And if we start going back all the way to high school, I'm sure those aren't in the list, but I would imagine Banger was
Hanger,
one,
got it. Yep, one for one.
the Wichert Wonder,
Yep, Wichert Wonder. Got two more.
uh, Big Boy.
Big boy, number three, last one.
Uh, I don't know if they would know my college nickname, but it's still one of my teammates. I know it's always him because he uses Storky.
Oh, not on there. Goldilocks is the correct answer.
Oh, Goldilocks is yeah. It's not a nickname that I'm known by. I guess it's described at that. So
Got it.
uh,
Had to make sure you nailed it.
yeah.
That was pretty good. That's awesome.
So Banger and Big Boy are my teammates from Seattle. That's where that comes from, and it's still used today. The Wichert Wonder kind of came about when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame,
Hmm.
and I was from Wichert, and the local newspaper said the Wichert Wonder in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, uh, I guess that means people are paying attention if you get a nickname, right?
Right. And talk about these finals. A lot of exciting stuff's going on. I don't think anybody predicted at least one half of the matchup we're seeing right now. The Thunder might have felt like a shoe-in for some, just given their regular season dominance, their progression naturally as a team. I know they were favored, quite a bit in a number of places. But Oklahoma City against these Pacers presents really just an interesting matchup. Who are you rooting for? If you have a rooting interest versus an interest just in watching, and what are your overall thoughts on what we're seeing?
Well, being a Sonic and still living in Seattle, it still rubs us raw that we lost our team. I can't blame anybody in Oklahoma City for what they did to get the team. We're still a little raw from how it happened. So it's tough to root for them. And the Pacers are, they made it to the conference finals last year too. So it's not a surprise. Looks like, and I wasn't watching much early, but looks like they got off to a slow start. But I had coached Pascal Siakam, or not coach. I worked with the Raptors as a consultant when Pascal got drafted. So I spent some time with Pascal. So I'm happy for him. I'm going to say that's why I'm rooting for Indiana. I had an experience with Pascal. But boy, are they tenacious. And I also know Rick Carlisle a little bit, and he's really a good coach. Maybe a little distant at times, but there's a lot going on upstairs here for as far as adjustments. The other thing is, uh, both teams go. They've got some talented big guys, but they tend to go small,
Mhm.
where they need multiple players on the court that can break people down. And
Yeah.
it's really a high pick and roll. Get it if you can't get it off of that, you roll right into a secondary one. If somebody can get in the paint, there's usually either they finish, and again, that's a skill set that players nowadays, the way they can finish in so many different ways with both hands is just amazing.
Hmm.
And that's a change in the game. But there's always two or three guys out there with their hands up at the 3 point line, waiting for the kick.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've got a small rooting uh, interest in the Pacers.
Okay. Yeah, Brett and I were talking this morning about the big situation, right? It feels like these guys can go small, whether that's the right move or not. Oklahoma City last night in game one decides to actually not play both bigs out there. So Chet plays 23 minutes. That's it. And I'd say he's arguably their third best player on a pretty deep roster. So in 23 minutes, he's on the floor, only makes 2 field goals. And in the game, the Pacers, who typically average 39 rebounds a game, finished with 56 rebounds. The Thunder's 39. So they got him by 17 boards. And the cost of going small led to all those extra rebounds, second chance opportunities that probably helped Indiana keep themselves in the game, despite the fact that they kept turning the ball over what seemed like every other possession. So, Brett, I'm curious to hear from you and Jack as well. What's kind of the give and take with being flexible and going small versus what you sacrifice in actually having, the bigs out there? You're both bigs. I can say that relative to myself, obviously, Jack, relative to the rest of the world, but at 6'5" and 6'11". So yeah, Brett, I'd love to hear from you first.
Yeah, I think rebounding is what finishes your defense. And so, if OKC's missing shots, then it's super valuable to have someone that can guarantee that rebound. And Indy has a lot of scrappy players that can just go and get it. Even guys like TJ McConnell, they'll get in the mix and they'll go grab them. But one of the things when it comes to rebounds, I think another factor in the reason why the rebounds were so high is uh, I love Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's an amazing player, but I'm definitely a little bit disenfranchised with the foul baiting. And he only got to the line 2 or 3 times. And when you go to the line an extra 7 or 8 times a game, that's 7 or 8 missed shots you now get when you're not getting them. And so those are extra rebounds up for grabs as well. So when they're not calling it tight in the paint, I think it creates more opportunity for more rebounds. And so I think, Indy just got on the other end of that as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you're looking at strategy of Oklahoma City, and they were up 15 in the fourth.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a segment of the game in which they had some misses. I will say this, and I feel like it's really, you know, I'm not, I didn't, I could be more objective. If I was on one of those benches, I probably wouldn't be, but I thought the refereeing was pretty good
Yeah.
as far as what they let go, what they didn't. If you raked an arm, it was going to be a foul. But if it was body contact and you're trying to go straight up, they let him go. And reboundings were scrappy. Those weren't usually those rebounds weren't clean. One guy going up and yanking it. There was some body contact, collision. Sometimes it was the secondary person who was maybe 8 feet away from the hoop instead of right underneath the hoop getting those rebounds. So you got to be active. Uh, I just I think the thing that and again it's been proven over and over again. There's a big belief in that Indiana team
Mhm.
that they're never out of the game. They're going to keep scrapping. They keep fresh bodies out there. I mean, he keeps rolling people through. Um, you know, Probably Halliburton was more rested than SGA late in the game, though he just, he really wasn't the point of the spear as far as scoring until the last shot. But um, I some of the games they have won in these playoffs, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Adam Silver had just made mention on Twitter this morning. They're going to change the team name to the Indiana Possums because you think they're dead, but they're not. And they come back. It just feels like every time you're ready to count them out and turn the TV off and put your kids to bed, you get a phone call from Brett saying, "Wake up, you're never going to believe this." And I think that's happened to me 4 times in one postseason. And like you said, Jack, there is a lot of belief in there. And And someone asked Tyrese yesterday, at what point in the game did you feel like, hey, maybe we've got a shot? And he said, I felt that when we got off the bus. Like, we're here. We're good enough. We've beaten the Cavs. We've beaten these other teams. We beat the Knicks. Like, they've done it. And so I think sometimes we forget that just because it looks like a little bit of David and Goliath from the outside. But to your point, like, you still have to go get a rebound in a mix of guys. Both teams have a lot of dogs. And, Nemhart will give Lou Dort a forearm, and Lou Dort will recover and still block a shot. And I think we're seeing some pretty dang good basketball. So that's my next question before we transition to some other topics. What about the quality of basketball we're watching? What are you guys thinking about what we're seeing? Brett, you can start on that as well.
Yeah, I do like it definitely in the playoffs in general. It's been a little bit more physical brand of basketball, which I like. I like when they're allowed to play a little bit more. I do think you're hearing. I'm a little bit of a Shea hater in the foul stuff. That's been one of my complaints throughout the whole playoffs is that it's really physical, except for with him. He's allowed to get to the line, but I think if that was my X factor for this series, is if they allow for both teams to play, I think Indy's got a puncher's chance in getting them. So.
Yeah.
Uh, I just like the intensity of the game again, and it just reminds you of the focus and the belief and all the things that are necessary to get yourself in a position to win a championship. And uh, we'll be interested Sunday to see how Oklahoma City responds to this, and whether from it Indiana takes a deep breath, because that's all to try to find that edge. And every game is so important. It's like a step on your neck game for Indiana. It's game one was a fluke, and we're gonna just pound them on this game two for OKC, and it's just the ebb and flow of a series, and then it really does come down to making threes. Both teams depend on it. Who's making them, who's not. That changes the game. Again, Indiana got back in the game by hitting some really, really tough threes in that last 4 or 5 minutes when they were behind. Every time it looked like they moved it to 8 points, all of a sudden it's two. And so we'll see. It's definitely a series.
Well, hey, we're gonna just go right into the full court press with you, Jack. I know you're not maybe a ball handler, more of a big guy, but we're gonna put the pressure on, and we're gonna start with Tanner asking you a question.
All right, Jack, here we go. I know you were a ball handler. Don't let Brett tell you otherwise. When you were growing up, what was your favorite team to watch, and who is your current favorite team to watch now?
Well, I was a sports nut, very competitive. And in Chicago, I grew up south of Chicago. We got WGN, the station that became a super station. But at that point in time, they showed the Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Bulls. So the only choice I had to make was the baseball one. And unlike the new Pope, I'm a Cubs fan, not a White Sox fan. So, but it was baseball was really interesting because Central Illinois, there were Cardinal fans, there were White Sox fans, there were Cub fans. So always lively discussions. The unfortunate thing was that usually the Cubs kind of were a last place team while I was a fan. But anyway, I was true and loyal. But as far as basketball, I grew up with Jerry Sloan, Norm Van Leer, Bob Love, Chet Walker, Tom Boerwinkle. So you can tell when I'm ripping off, the players from back in the late 60s and early 70s. I was a fan of the Bulls.
Jerry Sloan's a good name that Brett and I can both agree on. I'm a diehard Jazz guy, grew up in Salt Lake. He's a diehard Bulls guy. So we kind of find a nice marriage there despite what happened in 97 and 98. But yeah, we hear you on that.
Yeah, Jerry was a great guy. I got to know him when I was, of course, a player against the Jazz. But when I started to coach too, he was really close with Rick Adelman, who I worked under for a number of years. And they actually were Rick Adelman. I coached both with Bob Weiss and Rick Adelman. So those were the backup guards for Van Leer and Sloan. So
Okay.
small world.
Yeah. Who are you watching today? Is there anybody today when you're like, man, I don't want to miss when these guys are on, or how are you following the NBA in that way?
Uh, I like watching the Nuggets because I'm a Jokic fan, and now David Adelman got the head coaching job. So when he was the head assistant on the bench, I was a fan of theirs. I have to tell you, with the Sonics gone, it's tough to watch the NBA a little bit. I still a bit of a Bulls fan, but the well has been dry for a while, so
Yes, it has.
it's kind of tough. So, but that's where I'm going to go with basketball, and it has to do with how basketball is played. I mean, last night with the finals game, and I don't mean to jump ahead of the story, but that's a different style of game than when I was playing. There was more patterns and yeah, reads and so forth. This is putting the ball on the ground, trying to get a step on somebody, and if not, you draw and kick. So um, I would be a guy that they would kick to if I was playing today. I don't think I could break anybody down.
Yeah. Hey, you kind of mentioned this. So is Jokic your favorite player in the league right now?
Yeah, and it's just I love playing on the elbow. And then late in my career, I stepped out too, and was a kick guy where or we had uh, other matchups in the post we liked. So if they would go and double, then uh, I spaced the floor trying to get the big out of the middle.
Yeah, you really were. You were the stretch big before that was a term. You were one of the pioneers in that. What about this? Who is the dirtiest player you've ever played against? If you don't mind throwing someone under the bus a little bit.
What? Well, I don't know, dirty or physical. When I played,
Yeah.
it was really physical in the post,
Hmm.
and everybody used their uh, strengths. I didn't play a power game. I turned and faced. I wanted to create some room and try to draw my opponent out. And if he overcommitted, then I can go to a hole or draw a foul, that type of thing. But there was a lot of big, strong guys in the league. Uh, it was interesting. Bill Cartwright hit me in the nose twice, where a bloody nose, and probably a broken nose, whatever. Because after my career, I ended up having to have nose surgery, deviated septum, that whole thing. So I blame Cartwright for that, but he wasn't necessarily dirty. And with my inside pivot move, I've cracked a few guys
Uh-huh.
too, just with the swinging through, and didn't make any friends sometimes there. As far as physical, Artis was just a rock, Artis Gilmore, and he would just pivot. And if he bumped it you just hurt for a while. Uh, Lanier would lay all over you, so you felt like you were carrying him around the whole game. Um, uh, Swen Nader was a guy where he swung he went to a strong position and swung his elbows, and I got hit more than once from Swen. Um, but I especially when I got in the league, I was dumb and naive, which was a good thing. I just competed and went after these
Yeah.
guys. If you start looking at their uh, scrapbook, it could be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
So I just put my head down and went, and just wanted to establish myself in the league. But it was always competitive in the post.
Yeah.
I probably went up against 14 or 15 Hall of Famers because there was a lot of centers from that era that landed in the Hall.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. And you had such a successful NBA career. If you rewind it back a little bit, when did you kind of have that first moment of like, I might go to the NBA or I'm destined to potentially be a pro?
I started. I really leapfrogged from my freshman to sophomore year in college. One, just learning the college name. Two, I developed my post game, which was the Sikma move, inside pivot. My college coach and I, between freshman and sophomore year, worked really hard on it. In high school, you're just bigger than everybody else and turn around and shoot over the top of them. But a little more physical in the college game, and going up against some taller guys. I struggle a little bit in the post. So developing that led to having a really, really good sophomore year. And so then the kind of the light went on, but you're thinking, hey, maybe I can play somewhere for a while after school. And then my junior year, I progressed again and had a big break where I got invited to the 76 Olympic trials,
Mm.
which were held in Raleigh, North Carolina. And there was like two non-division 1 players that got invited to that, and I was one of them. So I was going up against guys I was watching on Saturday afternoon in the college game of the week, whether it's Kupchak or Lagarde or Tree Rollins or uh, all especially the ACC team, and I did really well. And probably there are some people that thought maybe I got the shaft a little bit, but I can't blame Dean Smith. He took 4 North Carolina guys trying to win a gold medal. You're going to go with the people you know. But it really opened the eyes of, for me, I knew I could play with these guys. Second, everybody saw me there. So every team was going to spend some time on me the next year. And fortunately, I had a another good senior season. My college coach, Denny Bridges, who's still one of my closest friends, um, told me when I went to Wesleyan, because I was recruited by Division 1 schools and just farm boy, felt comfortable. Wesleyan was the place for me to go. Said, hey, if you're worried about exposure, I'll make sure we schedule a couple Division 1 schools every year, in which he did. And I always fortunately did a good job there. So people had tape of me against some worthy opponents. Um, and then I got invited to a couple of the All-Star games, which now they have the Chicago camp for the draftees and so forth. Everybody goes there. But back then it was the Aloha Classic in Hawaii, or there was a coaches game in Tulsa. And fortunately I got invited to those, and again showed that I could stick with these guys.
That's
So
awesome.
it developed in college. The other thing is I went from 195 pounds as a freshman. I was skinny as heck. To I when I graduated, I was 235. So that was another, as far as being able to handle the physicalness of it.
Yeah. Jack, what was your welcome to the league moment? That moment where you're like, oh boy, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
Well, um, like I mentioned earlier, I really didn't think about that. I just competed hard in practice every day. I didn't start or get much playing time early. I got a little bit more, but it wasn't until like the 20 something 22nd 23rd game of the year I got a chance to start. And fortunately it went well, and the Sonics had a great turnaround that my first year, and excitement in the city, and we all got caught up with it. I'll mention one, and it just happened in a game. We're playing the Knicks, and Lonnie Shelton, who would be my teammate the next year, and a lot of people may not be familiar with Lonnie, but he could have played football, a defensive end, tight end. He's just a monster. Strong and quick and powerful. So he was my matchup, and I got the ball just off the elbow my rookie season, and was about kind of swinging through, about to put it down. And the angle I had, the under the basket referee was right in my vision. It's just off the goal. And as I go, he forearms me right in upper chest, neck, just forearms me. And I'm looking at the ref, and I'm going like this. And he kind of looks at me with the welcome to the NBA, young pup, welcome to the NBA. So, yeah, I probably felt I was getting screwed a little bit with foul calls and that type of thing, but you got to pay a price. And if you
Yep.
get caught up in that, you're not going anywhere. So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You also mentioned that you played against a bunch of Hall of Famers, especially at your position. In that era, there was so many greats that we can name. who was probably the best player you played against and why?
Uh, like I said, great competition, lots of great centers, but I have to put Kareem at the top. You know, I was in Seattle. We were playing in the Lakers, same division, all that kind of thing. And really, with Kareem, you just got to do all your work early and just hope you can get him to step off maybe his sweet spot, a step or two, as far as overplaying on the entry pass and that kind of thing. Because really, once he got into his sky hook, you know, he takes the one step planting. I'm watching the sky hook like everybody else in the arena at that point in time. There's nothing I can do, and hope he misses his share. And a good night against Kareem is if he, was 10 for 18, 10 for 20. That was a good night against Kareem.